Recently, we had the privilege of travelling with Seeds of Dignity Ministries to Palompon, a municipality in Leyte that was majorly affected by Hurricane Yolanda. We first took a domestic flight from Davao International Airport to Cebu, and then took a 2-hour high-speed cat ferry to the port of Ormoc. From there it was another 1.5-hour journey to the heart of Palompon. Even the port of Ormoc still showed major signs of devastation from the high-speed winds that ripped through the region just 3 months before our visit. Building roofs were still missing from many structures. We had brought along with us boxes of medical items, Bibles and clothing to give to the local communities we would be meeting with. The journey to our first stop was both beautiful and harrowing at the same time. The evidence of the recent high-speed winds of over 200 kilometers an hour had left its mark, with vast areas of coconut trees missing their branches and leaving them bald on one side. You could really begin to see and feel what it must have been like to have been in the midst of such a storm. Our first stop took us to a remote church community that had lost its church building, which serves as a central support for the local village. With funds raised through Seeds of Dignity Ministries, they were able to start the rebuilding of their new church facility. We were greeted with beautiful smiles and many words of gratitude for both the support and care that they were given. We also had the privilege of providing the pastors with new study Bibles, as many of them had lost most of their personal possessions in the Yolanda disaster. The new church building was being constructed to a very high standard to hopefully withstand any future storms. We then journeyed to Pastor Jonas's church, located at the heart of Palompon. Pastor Jonas oversees and coordinates a community of pastors in the region, numbering some 20 churches in partnership with Seeds of Dignity. We first visited the rebuilding project of their Sunday school rooms, which received financial support through Seeds of Dignity. You could see that even in their courtyard there were still trees uprooted or severely leaning due to storm damage. Pastor Jonas had managed to gather 19 pastors from remote regions in the area together at his church to greet us, knowing that a swift one-day visit would not be enough time for us to visit any more than 2 or 3 churches. Many of the pastors are located in extremely remote mountain regions, which are difficult to access. This gathering provided us with the opportunity to give the gifts of medicine, clothing and Bibles to all of the pastors that had attended with their families in one central location. The gratitude, grace and joy that greeted us was remarkable, and meeting such dedicated leaders with their families was truly inspiring. Their hospitality was humbling, knowing that they had very little for themselves, and some had even caught the fresh seafood we were being served earlier that same morning to ensure that we're being well fed. The food was delicious and the company even better. Sharing these precious moments with such inspiring individuals and families who have faced such adversity at levels many of us have never known was a true blessing. The provision of Bibles was eagerly received, and the thankfulness with which the other items were received was beautiful to watch. Joy was so evident in the room, and not just because of what they were receiving, but was of a much deeper level beyond the acquisition of material possessions. Pastor Jonas proudly showed us around his compound, showing the new developments that had been made possible with the support received through Seeds of Dignity Ministries, including the provision of a solar panel to provide some electricity. Many areas in Palompon still didn't have access to electricity even 3 months after the disaster. We then travelled to the Palompon National High School, which was receiving some funding through the Rotary Club to place a new roof on their classrooms that had been damaged in Yolanda. Standing in the middle of the classroom with no roof gave you a true understanding of the power of Yolanda that ripped through this municipality. Our final stop took us to a remote church located on the side of a hill. They too were receiving funding for the rebuilding project. We were struck by the sense of community we saw, with stories being told of the church leaders cutting their own trees 4 kilometres away from the church and walking with the timber to the church to help with the rebuilding process. They had lost most of the possessions in that region and were very thankful to be receiving support from Seeds of Dignity. Even the simple act of us bringing cold drinks through a cooler filled with ice created a great commotion, as most had not had a cold drink in months, as there was still no electricity being provided to their remote village. Many were living on root vegetables that had not been destroyed by the storm, and just the simple act of providing other food and snacks provided so much joy and fun in the community. The rebuilding projects are still ongoing in more than 20 sites in some very remote locations throughout Palompon, and the support provided thus far is creating a long-lasting impact. However, there is still a need for further financial support and assistance, and if you would like to find out more or be involved either financially or otherwise, please log on to seedsofdignityministries.com and get in touch, or through stepinternational.com, and we will be happy to connect you.